Hello, Maritime Zone friends, it's Matt here today bringing you another gardening vlog, yay! We're currently inside with our thriving tomato plants, but we're going to be going outside today to the potting shed and the garden to prepare some new seed beds and sow some new plants. I hope you're going to enjoy the ride as we start some new plant babies. I had a lot of fun filming it and I hope you guys enjoy watching it as well, so without further ado, grab your cuppas and settle in. So it was a quick look at some of the seeds we're going to be sowing today. Some of these are going to be going outside directly and some of them will be going into trays and pots which will stay inside for a little while, just kind of get themselves established before we go inside. So some of what we have are part of our Three Sisters garden, which I'm excited about. We have our Borlotti Beans and our Harrier Butternut Squash. I was originally going to be doing the sweet corn as well, but because I missed out on planting a lot of stuff in March, we actually went to a garden centre like today. As I'm filming this, we went this morning, and we bought a sweet corn plant. So that's already established. In terms of veg, the only other two things we're going to be doing today are going to be our courgettes and our leeks, because leeks we're going to want to get them going so we can transplant those to their final position outside later. And the same with courgettes, they're going to be going into grow bags later, but we're going to start them up inside so they can get nice and tall and big and healthy. Now we are going to be growing some other stuff as well. I've got a bunch of stuff for what I'm calling my salad bowl, like lettuce and carrots and spring onions, but those are going to be sown directly outside and I'm waiting on delivery of compost. So as soon as that's here, we'll be able to get those planted outside. That might be a little bit later. I think the delivery is coming at the end of this month. So depending on when I'm able to get this video out, I'll either film some extra or it will be in another video. But what we do have today that we can do is our morning glories and our oxeye daisies. These are going to be going inside in trays. I'm really looking forward to these oxeye daisies. They're going to be a beautiful wildlife plant. Great for pollinators, as it says right here. These ones are Mr. Fothergills, and Morning Glory Grandpa Ox are going to be our other climbers, which we mentioned in the last video. Going to be going with our black-eyed Susans. And they're this beautiful bluey, purpley, pinkish colour, and I'm looking forward to them very much so. Now the last two ones we have here are going to be planted outside directly into their growing position. So I'm going to be doing some sunflowers for my sister who really wanted to have some sunflowers going. She loves them. So we're going to try and get some of these going. And I also want to do some of these, the Calendula pot marigolds. I also need to get my hands on some nasturtium seeds or some nasturtium plants, because nasturtiums and marigolds are fantastic companion plants because they are great for pests. They are not only good pollinators, but they also apparently attract pests away from the plants. So if you've got like some veggies that you're trying to grow, if you put some of these nearby, it should attract the pests which would otherwise go to the other plants. So we're going to be putting a few of these around the place in individual pots. These are sowing directly outdoors from March till May. So we're going to be putting some of those out today directly into pots that are going to go outside in the garden. So we're going to get those ones done later, but we're going to start by doing our seed trays. Let's get them done and out of the way, and I'm looking forward to it. I've got my cup of tea, my Good Witch Bakery from Friday Tea. Shout out to Friday Tea because you guys are amazing, and it's this beautiful tea. It smells like a bakery and it's getting me inspired to get all of these things done today. So let's get our trays out and let's start potting. So we're going to be using our Levington's peat-free seed compost. It's got added John-ins in there, which from what I know, I don't really understand what it is exactly, but I'm understanding that it's supposed to be really good for stuff. Pretty much if you can get it with John-ins, get it with John-ins. The reason we're using the Levingtons is mostly because I already had it, but one thing I am going to note, I'm going to be very careful using this because I did find a small chunk of glass in one of my other seed trays. So again, as I said last time, just make sure you're checking through your compost. Just be really careful when you first start out. Kind of run your fingers through it and find out if there's pieces in it. Hopefully it's not going to be too bad. In the entire last bag we used, I found one problem. Hopefully we're not going to get any in this one, but we'll see. So what I actually want to do with this is I want to try and reuse some of the soil I've used before, but mix in a bit of the new stuff. So we're going to take some from this pot over here. And it's basically just the same stuff we used before. It's the exact same type, but some of this has been planted with before. So what I'm basically going to do is just mix it in with some of the unused stuff, just because I don't want to waste it. So we're going to use at least half of the old stuff and half of the new stuff. As I say, I want to try and reuse as much of the old stuff as possible, but I don't know how much of the nutrients get used up in a seed tray. Like, obviously the seedling stage is quite an important stage of growth, so I don't know how many of the nutrients it uses. I'm assuming not everything, but also I don't want to risk reusing all old soil and then these new seeds not growing. So that's why I've used a combination to try and recycle some of the old stuff out. What we're going to do right now, I'm going to take these Morning Glories, Mr. Fothergills again. As I say, most of the seeds I have are from them, so I will leave a link to Mr. Fothergills down below if you want to go and have a look for any of these seeds yourself. We have got the Grandpa Ott's Morning Glories. These are half hardy annuals. We have to sow between March and April, which is why we're doing them right now before we run out of time. They flower June through October, and we used to have some of these in our old garden. We had them on a trellis that we used to have, and they were always gorgeous to have, because not only are they just a beautiful colour anyway, but the fact that they grow. Some seeds stuck up here and I don't want to lose any of them, so I'm trying to be careful. But if I remember correctly, they would close up during the evening and then they would open up, like the petals would close and open like during the day. So it was sort of like as the morning rose, they would wake up and say good morning world, and they would be absolutely glorious. Oh, look at these seeds. Why are they so cute? We have some more in the bag that I might get out. They almost remind me of like teeny tiny little Hershey's Kisses, and they are very cute. It doesn't say to sow thinly, it just says to sow these in a tray half a centimetre deep. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to sprinkle these across the top. I do not mind using all of these seeds. I'm just going to kind of sprinkle them throughout the tray. I'll split these up a little bit as I need, like if some of them have like got 2 or 3 next to each other. And luckily these are really easy to see as well, so we can kind of just pick them and go, right, there's not one over here. So we're going to leave these to do their thing, and hopefully these are going to grow up nice and tall, and they're going to be our fellow climbers. So what we need to do now is just put a very thin layer of soil on top, and then they're ready to go inside, have a good water, and they will live inside. All of the rest of the plants that I'm doing today as well, by the way, none of them need temperatures higher than 20 degrees C, so we don't need to use the propagator for the rest of these. So I've got my trusty little tray of extra compost here that we're just going to sprinkle over the top of these seeds in here. Just enough to cover it. It doesn't have to be deep. Ta-da! And there we have our first tray of seedlings for the day. This is going to need a nice good water because the soil that I have put in here today is very dry. It has been sitting here since the last seeds that we had in here. So I'm going to give this a nice good drink and go and put this in the kitchen windowsill. So yay, first one is finished. I did actually miss this tip at the bottom, and I really should have checked this beforehand, because Mr. Fothergill's gives really good tips and I forgot to read this. But it does say to aid germination, soak the seed overnight in tepid water prior to sowing. I actually didn't read that. It's already in the soil, so I'm not going to be doing that. But it's a good thing to note to always be checking the backs of these seed packets, because some of these on here do give you some extra information. I didn't read it, that's my bad. I will make sure I'm checking them after that, but those are done. So what we need to do is make it official by writing the label. If you happen to want a behind the scenes, by the way, of what's going on down here, I have my potatoes down here which are going to be planted today, my little book of all of my notes. Basically just telling me what needs to be planted inside and outside when, where they need to go, how deep they need to go, and this is all my old seed compost here that we're going to be reusing. Hi Morning Glories, how are you doing? We're going to give them a good drink in a moment. We've got a whole bunch of other things over here, which like paint for the trellises and flowers, and we've got soil and everything over here. It's a little bit hectic at the moment, but this is what we're dealing with. I have my stacks over here of seed compost that we're using up first, so we're going to fill this tray and we're going to get some oxeye daisies in. They're the only other one we're doing which goes into trays today. So let's get on and fill this one, and then I'll tell you all about the oxeye daisies. So we have tray number 2 here ready to go, full again of our mixture of old and new soil compost. And we're going to be doing our oxeye daisies in these ones. Now the oxeye daisies I actually learned about while I was living in my old house. On my way to work, I just saw this massive blooming area of these, like right outside somebody's house. They are basically just, they look like regular daisies, but they're huge and they can grow really tall. They're fantastic for wildlife areas. They are a wildflower. They're fantastic for pollinators. So if you are doing a little wildlife area, these are fantastic for that. So we're going to be sowing these indoors, half a centimetre deep again, trays of compost. and it says to be able to put them in a cold frame, cool windowsill or a greenhouse. So they're going to be going somewhere nice and cool inside the house. Not necessarily the same kitchen window because it does get quite hot in there. But they're going to find a nice cool space for these to go. Let's get these open and see what these look like. I'm always so surprised and excited whenever I open a seed packet to see what they're going to look like. Ooh, these look really interesting. They're really, really small as well. So let me put a couple out in my hand so you can kind of have a look at this here. Look how small these are. These are beautiful though. We do have some like little black ones and some almost that look like tiny little sunflower seeds. So I am curious like why there are differences, if that's part of the same seed or if they're two different seed types. But we're going to be sprinkling some of these across. Again, it does not say to do thinly, so I'm kind of going to maybe go a little bit ham on this, to be honest, because look how many are in here. There's so many seeds in here that I'm like, I kind of just want to put quite a few in here. I don't mind almost doing more than I need. The thing is, these are really great wildflowers, so what we can actually do is, if I don't have room to put all of this where I want it, we do have a lot of really good space outside the front of the house, and we have a massive hedge which we need to dig out because it's too big and the council want us to cut it back. So when we get rid of that, we might have a little bit of extra green space there. Maybe we can do some bonsai daisies and grow them up near the front of the house, and I think that'd be really cute. This is one of my favourite parts of the whole process. Like, it's not my favourite part. My favourite part is when you see the first little seedling come up and you know that they've worked, you know that they're growing. That this is always exciting because it's kind of like, it's the beginning of the life stage, you know. It's like you're giving it a chance of being like, here's your new home, give you plenty of light and water, and it's like the start of the journey. And the beginning part of the journey is always a lot of fun. I'm going to do the same things we did last time, just sprinkle a layer of soil on the top of this, not too deep, only 1/2 centimetre. So again, just a little light sprinkling on the top. Put a little sign in there as well, and that's going to go sit on the floor and give them a good water and take them inside in a moment. So give me 1 second to go and get that sorted and I'll be right back with you. And there we have it, our 2 new additions to the flower garden ready to go. I'm going to give these a good water and take these inside now so I have more room to work. But I think what we're going to do, we're going to stay on the theme of flowers, and let's get our sunflowers and our marigolds going. They're going to be going directly outside, so we're going to go and get some pots with some compost in already. And I think sunflowers I might even do in a grow bag depending on what room we have. So let's go and have a look at what pots we have available, and I will be right back. I decided we were going to come outside to do these next ones because these are going to go outside, and I'd say it's a lovely day. There's birds out. It's a little bit windy today, so I apologise if it's a bit noisy, but these calendulas are going to live outside in this terracotta pot over here. I do have another pot or 2 that I can use. I'm going to do one of these on camera with you guys so you can see what my process is going to be, and all of those are going to be the same. So what I love about these calendulas, as I was saying, is that they are supposedly really good at keeping pests away. But the other thing that I love is that you can actually use the petals. As it says on here, calendula petals can be added to salads. So they're actually edible, and I kind of love the idea of having a lot of flowers around that are going to be edible. I've actually bought myself a drying rack to be able to dry some flowers and stuff, like some chamomile, so I can make my own teas. So being able to add some like flower stuff into edible food stuffs, that will be so interesting. I've never tried it before. So these are going to be a really good way of doing it. So we're going to put a few of these into some of these terracotta pots here. I also thought of just like pop ourselves out here so you can have a look at some of the things that my mum and dad are doing. See all of these different flowers over here. We have some pansies, we have some violas, I believe they are over there. There's some of the things that my parents have bought to put into some raised planters and things that they've been building around the place. If you guys are interested in seeing all of what we're doing once it's all done and in and it's all looking good and in their places, let me know. We can do another video of that, just doing a tour of all of the things in the garden. We have a lot of different things, so hopefully we can keep all of these little sticks and stuff about what we're doing, what they are, so we will remember everything. But what we're going to be doing right now is just hanging out with these flowers and putting some of these seeds into this terracotta pot. So let me go and get some soil and we'll run through the process that I'm going to trial with these, and if they don't work, it does suggest to plant these over multiple weeks. So if these ones don't work, we have a few more seeds left over and we can give it another try. So let me go and get the rest of my stuff and I'll be right back with you. So as you can probably tell, the wind is picking up a little bit out here and it's actually starting to rain a little bit. So at very least we know that the stuff we're planting outside is going to get a good water today. But essentially what I want to do with these, because they're going to be outside where they're going to flower, I want them to have pretty much all of the nutrients they're ever going to need in here, because I don't want to have to transplant them if I don't have to. So what I'm actually going to do is we're going to take a combination of these three things here. We've got some topsoil, some all-purpose compost, and some seed compost that was left over from the previous seedlings. So what I want to do is make a combination of compost and topsoil in the majority of the pot, but then make a little well in the middle where I'm going to plant the seeds, or like a layer on the top of the seeds, which is seed compost. So it's got all of the extra nutrients that the seeds will need, but as soon as the roots start growing in longer and it starts becoming more mature, the roots will be able to reach down into the rest of the compost. I have no idea if that's going to work or if that's going to make any difference at all, but it's going to be fun to try. So let me go and find my gloves and my trowel and let's get digging. I'm so proud of myself, a bee just flew by and I didn't even run away. My dogs have just got home from their walk. Should we see if we can get one to say hello? Oh look, there we go. Drying off from the walk. They've just been to the beach, so they're absolutely covered in sand and seawater, and they've just been washed off with a hose to get them all clean, and now she's making herself dirty again, so good job. Look at her go. Majestic creature that she is. And there we go, loving life. There's another one. Hello. Cows, not in there, please. Living their absolute best lives. Kind of like these little curly shapes. There's actually quite a lot of them in here. So again, it's just lightly scatter them over the top. Again, it's a half a centimetre or a quarter of an inch deep into prepared soil that should already have been watered, but whoops, I haven't done that. That's fine. We're going to give it a good water in a moment. See if we get a nice good look in here. You can see they look like teeny tiny little worms. Again, I've not done too many, probably 10 to 15 in there, and I think that's probably going to be enough as a trial and error. If not too many of them come up, I know I can do more next time, but I want to make sure we have plenty for the rest of the growing season. So let's cover this up with some compost now and give it a good water. Should have done that beforehand, but it's fine, honestly. It's going to get a nice good drink, and it's also, like I say, about to start raining, so whatever water it doesn't receive from my can, it's going to get from the sky. So let's get this covered in soil. Enter the filthy yet functional watering can. We're going to give this a nice good glug of water. Watering can ASMR. I know you can't hear it, but we can see it. So that water soak in nicely, and then that will sit there and live its life. I'm going to put a couple of these around the garden in different spots, and once they're in their places we'll be able to see where they are throughout the rest of the video of this series. Right now though, we're going to go and put this in a spot and go and deal with the absolute catastrophe mess I've made out here. We might have to abandon this for a different day because the rain is starting to fall, but let's see how far we can get in the meantime, shall we? You know what they say, no rain no gain. We are going to stick with a vein of flowers now and move on to the sunflower, which I'm going to be doing for my sister. She actually got these seeds from work last year, so she gave these to me knowing she has no green appendages to speak of. Gave it to me to try and see if I can grow them. So these are basically just from Wilkinson's before they went bust, and they are giant single sunflowers that can be planted outdoors, sown from March through May, will flower all the way up to September. So basically what we're going to do, it says for outdoor sowing, so 2 or 3 seeds together where they are to plant in a prepared seed bed. Honestly, we don't really have a proper seed bed that we can use, and if they're going out where they are to flower, pretty much what I want to do, the way I'm doing it right now, is we're going to put these seeds, again as it says 2 or 3 together, into these little pots. They are fairly decently sized, so what I'm thinking is they're going to stay in here for a while. Seedlings appear within 14 to 21 days, and for growing on it says remove the weaker seedlings and leave 1 per position. The ones that you remove can be transplanted, but we're going to have to see what we have for space in there for whether or not we can get any more in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing here as it says, but we're doing it in pots instead of seed beds. So we actually used to have some sunflowers in our old house. We used to have a few of them out in the garden, and I remember them doing fairly well. They were just kind of out on the patio. So, oh, that's a big bit of branch. We're going to get rid of that one later. And I remember them being quite beautiful, and I know that's why my sister likes them, is because we had some before and she like just loved how beautiful, huge they were. Beautiful bright yellows. And honestly, I've watched enough time lapses of them now to kind of be like, you know what, I actually really do want to see how they come out. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they fare in our garden, how big they get. They are going to be going in a spot. Let me see, can I show you? They're going to be going out over here in this back corner with our tomatoes. So nice big spot underneath the blossom tree here, and I reckon they'll look quite pretty there actually, to be honest. Pretty much what I want to do with these is have them at the back of the garden so it makes the fence look a bit prettier. And I do know that you can also use the sunflower seeds from the plant for things like salads and mixes like that. You can actually just eat the seeds. So I think that would be a really nice thing to be able to have. They'll be really good for birds, really good for just pollinators. You know, it's going to be beautiful out there. So we have our little seed pots here. Absolutely beautiful looking things these are. I've never actually eaten sunflower seeds as they are, so maybe I'll try and find a way of using some of them at some point, but this is going to be more than we're going to need. It just says to plant 3. It doesn't say specifically if they need to be on their side or on their tops. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go pretty much just 1, 2, 3 like that in each of these, and then we're going to give them a light covering and basically just see which of these comes out the best. 1, 2, 3, and pop that one in there, and the rest of these seeds are just going to go back in the pack. So what we're going to do is just put a little bit extra soil on top of these, and they're going to go in a nice position outside. So let me get some soil on top of these. There we go. Nothing pretty or beautiful, just covered up. So we're going to get these nice and watered, pop them out in their corner. Let's go put them in their spot together, shall we? Let's take one of these outside, go see where they're going to go and live. I think out here will be a really nice spot for them. So let's put you down there. We'll get you a little stand in a second, but essentially they're going to go out here. We're going to move the ladders, obviously. I'm going to be doing this whole section separately. I think we're going to do that as a bit of a time-lapse video because I'm really interested how this is going to turn out. I've got a few bits here that I want to plant into this section. These flowers are going to be moving, but I think next to this we're going to have a bunch of shrubby doers and a few flowers. And here underneath the blossom tree, I think it's going to be a really good spot for the sunflowers, and our tomatoes are going to grow around here too. So let me probably go and get those bricks over there, put a couple of those down here, and just pop them on. As you can probably tell, it is a beautiful day outside today. Lovely blue skies, but trust me, it's not been like this since you last saw me doing this pot marigold over here. I said it was about to start raining, and it did. It rained all day and all night yesterday, and we had thunderstorms at about midnight last night, so this is the aftermath, and it's a glorious day. Now that all of our flowers are done, we're going to move on to the rest of the veggies that I'm going to be planting for this season. We're going to start with some Osman leeks. I grew leeks. It's one of the few things I've grown and have experience with in my old house. We had this tiny little trench that was just filled with stones, and we decided we were going to fill it with soil and grow things instead. We had tomatoes, we had strawberries, and I planted a whole bunch of leeks, and they came out really, really well. They were so tasty. So I decided I wanted to do some more ourselves this year, but this time we're going to be doing it a little differently. Instead of planting a whole bunch in one go and having too many leeks to be able to use, we're going to be spreading these out and doing a few like in separate rows alongside some spring onions and some carrots, and we're going to be sort of rolling them on throughout the season. Like every couple of weeks we'll sow some more and we'll see what happens. We can plant them all the way, I believe, up until May. Yeah, so we're in April and we can do them all the way up until the end of May. So we're going to be doing maybe every 3 weeks we'll do some. We actually don't get that many seeds. I did have a look just to see what it was going to be like. I did already open the seed packet because I wanted to have a look, and look at how small these are. So we actually don't get as many seeds as I thought we were going to get. So what I might end up doing is buying extra packs of these and planting these out, because it suggests to do them in trays or individual modules, and once they start growing tall you then transplant them into their final position, which in my case is going to be a very long grow bag. It's going to be 1 meter long. You'll be able to see it once we get them. I have them here, but I'm waiting for the compost to be delivered to fill them up. But we're going to have 2 of those. We're going to have one for our 3 sisters garden and one for what I'm calling the salad bowl, which is going to be like different rows of leeks, carrots, and spring onions. Might even pop some radishes around the edges as well. We're going to have some lettuce, but these are going to be transplanted. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to put some in this tray, I think. Okay, I've had a thought. I'm actually going to use this. I'm going to put some into these modules because I think honestly it's going to be a little easier to use than the whole tray. It means then as they grow up I can transplant them a lot easier from the modules than I was doing from the tray, having to like dig underneath and lift them. We do need to give this a bit of a clean out because it's still got some old soil and stuff in it. Let's look at the state of that. So I'm going to give this a bit of a clean. And then I'm going to put some of these into there. It does say to sow thinly. As I say, you can do it in trays or cell modules. And again, if you want the link to where I got these, this is the first thing you're going to be seeing from RHS. I do have my squash from them as well, but RHS, Royal Horticultural Society, very, very good place to go if you're looking for seeds or, to be honest, even just information. The RHS website is the place to go whenever I'm trying to get information on something, I'm trying to learn about anything. I always go to RHS, so links again will be down in the description below. I honestly would recommend to anybody that's ever gone, I feel like I want to try gardening but I have no idea what I'm doing. I, as somebody who has no idea what they're doing besides what they've learned on the internet, I would 100% recommend just giving it a go because it's been some of the most rewarding things to see the seeds that I planted in February growing up into big plants now. I will give you a quick look as we go through later on to have a look at everything that we replanted in the last episode, so you guys can kind of see the progress in between episodes. That was the 30th. It is the, oh god, what number today? It's the 16th of April today, so it's had just over 2 weeks in their new pots, and watching them go from an empty tray of soil, pretty much as we have right here, just empty modules full of soil, to seeing the little seeds pop their heads out and grow into something big, regardless of whether or not they fruit properly. It is so rewarding to see just your hard work go into it and become something, you know. This year there's like big scale. I'm not saying you need to do anything at all to the scale to give it a shot, but just grab a couple of trays. Literally, these are so cheap. You can get these anywhere. Like, they're basically just plastic trays, so anywhere you can get a plastic tray from, and just a single bag of seed compost, and just grab some seeds. These are really not expensive. It was like £1.40 or something for like a pack of seeds, and for the amount of stuff that you get for your money, it is absolutely the most rewarding thing. So if you've ever been like, oh, I feel like I want to try but I don't know how to do it, I don't know if I'd be any good at it, I promise you, if you give it a shot, you won't regret it. So we need to sow these thinly now, so I'm just going to put a couple of them, just drop maybe 4 into each pot. I have enough in here, I reckon, for 2 rounds of these at absolute most, so I might end up just buying more seeds of these later. I, in a way, have come to... Did I already put a seed in that pot? I think I put a seed in that pot already, I'm not sure. Look with me, guys. Can you see the seeds? I'm trying to figure out which modules I already dropped them into. I was talking and I didn't pay attention. I'll figure that out in a moment. What we're going to do with these, just to finish them off, once I figure out which ones I've put seeds in, it's just 1.5 centimeters deep with some compost on top. So we're just going to sprinkle a little extra compost. Maybe just push this down a little bit so we can get some extra on top. Right, so they're all covered up. And then what we're going to do, just put some water in those. And these, I believe, are about 15 degrees C. Don't need to be too hot, these ones. So these are just going to go and sit on a kitchen surface, probably not directly in the window because I don't want to cook them. I think that's what I did with my delphinium, so we're going to avoid doing that this time around. And there we have it, one little tray of leek seedlings. So we are going to go and get those, as I say, put inside, and they will go as part of the rest of the salad bowl, which I will record separately. This video is probably going to have been recorded over several days so I can show you everything. So this is the only part of our salad bowl garden which is going to essentially be done inside. So let me get these out of the way and then we're going to move on to the Three Sisters garden. So let's take these away and I will see you on the other side. As you can see in front of you, we do have a pre-established sweet corn because I did not get around to doing mine in March and I needed them to have a bit of growing time before I got around to doing the other bits here, which we'll explain in just a moment. But if you take a quick look at the sweet corn here, these are the early bird variety. I do not know much about this particular variety, but I'm assuming it's fairly similar to most of the sweet corns. I do have seeds for the Swift F1, which was my original plan, but as I say, because they wanted to be planted in March, I didn't have enough time to get that done and to also be able to do these because it was coming up to the end of March. The last episode was released at the beginning of April, so literally did not have time to do those. These are ones that we got from a plant centre because the reason you want sweet corn to grow fast in a Three Sisters garden is for the beans to climb them. To explain the concept of a Three Sisters garden, if you've never heard of one before, the idea that I understand it to be, obviously correct me if I'm wrong, if you know more about it, I would love to hear more down in the comments. So let me know if you've done one of your own and you have advice and I've got this wrong, let me know. But my idea of it is that you have a sweet corn, you have a squash, and you have some beans, whichever varieties you want. I personally have gone, obviously, as I say, the early bird sweet corns, the Butternut Squash Harrier F1 from RHS, and the Mr. Fothergill's climbing French bean, and insert bad Italian speaking here, Borlotti Lingua di Fuoco 2. This is an Italian favourite. I have never heard of them before, but they look awesome. The idea of the Three Sisters garden is that these three things benefit each other. There's a reason they get planted together, and the idea is the sweet corn grows tall. The tall solid structure of the sweet corn provides climbing spaces for the beans. Obviously we will be putting in some canes and stuff as well to make sure that they've got plenty to hold on to, but the sweet corn growing nice and tall and strong is a natural climbing space for the beans to grow up. And now the beans themselves, from what I understand, are really good at releasing like various different nutrients which the rest of the things in the Three Sisters garden really benefit from. So having these planted is a good thing for the soil, for the sweet corn, and for the squash, which is planted to give leafy ground cover, which basically is almost, I don't know if it acts like a natural mulch in the way that it's like helps retain moisture, it helps keep the roots cool, and it keeps weeds out. But essentially the three of these pieces together work very, very well together, and they go really well together in a Three Sister stew. So you have the beans, the corn, and the squash, and you cook them all up together. And there is lots of information about this online. If you want to go and just look up a Three Sisters garden, Three Sisters stew, there are plenty of places for you to go and find out more about this. So as I say, if I have made any mistakes on any of this and you know any better, please do let me know because I would love to learn. So what we're going to be planting today is the beans and the squash. Ideally, I would have had the beans in a little earlier than the squash as well to give the beans some time to grow, but seeing as how we're already later in the season and I missed an entire month of planting, I think I'm just going to go ahead and do both of these now. So what we're going to be doing with both of these is going to be individual pots of compost for both of these. The squash goes edge down. This is what I was saying earlier on about sometimes you need to make sure that you're paying attention to the direction of the seed when you plant it because it can make a difference sometimes. I went and grabbed all of the pots from indoors that were spare, so we're going to be putting one into each for the squash. And I'm going to do 3 of these, and then I'm going to do 3 of the beans as well, 2.5 centimeters or 1 inch deep into individual pots. And these are both going to be kept in a nice warm position, 15 to 20 Celsius, and they're going to be just keep them moist and they'll be fine. 7 to 14 days for the beans, 7 to 21 for the squash. So in theory, both of these should start sprouting around the same time, but the most important thing is the sweet corn has already started. I have wanted to do a Three Sisters garden for so long. Not only is it a combination of some of my favourite foods, you know, I love sweet corn, I love squash, and I honestly would use so many more beans if I had them as well. And the idea, honestly, of being able to grow all of them together in the same thing and have them benefit each other is such an interesting concept to my brain that you can have these 3 things together and they just are so symbiotic. That might be the wrong word to use, but it's the word I'm using right now, that they just thrive from being next to each other. And it just makes me so happy, the idea that they will live comfortably together and benefit each other. We have a nice sunny spot for it because from what I understand, we need full sun for all of these parts. So we're going to be putting them on the patio near to the house, but far enough away that it actually gets a really good coverage of sun throughout most of the day. You know, I don't know why I thought these would look different. I've had butternut squashes before and I've seen the seeds and I've taken them out. I don't know why I expected them to look any different, but here we are. So these are our seeds. They are fairly large, and as it says, we're going to be planting them on this side. So I believe that means sort of like this way down as opposed to on this side flat. More like this in the soil as opposed to completely flat. I'm trying to get it to focus. So you want to have it on its side so that it can pop out of the side and basically break open the case. At least that's what I think I've seen when I've watched time lapses. Gonna put them in on their sides like this. I'm only going to do 3 because in theory I'm hoping to have 2 of these plants, and less is more. As we said, you know, I don't have an awful lot of pot space left. If I find a spare pot, maybe I'll do a 4th just as a fail-safe. Ideally, I want, say, 2 or 3 in the middle, the beans around it, and then the squash either side, possibly one in the middle. I don't know how much space they're going to take up though, so we're going to plant these 3 for now, make sure we have enough space. So let's open the beans and see what these look like as well. I'm kind of wondering if they do just look like dehydrated beans when you plant the beans themselves, or if the seeds look completely different. Look at these. These are wild looking. It's almost like leopard print skin. That's so cool. So you see here, I believe this little white dot is what they call the eye. So each of these will have one of those on, or something similar to that. There they are on this side. So let me have a read of the back of this packet and see how we want to plant these. Okay, it just says into individual pots. It doesn't specify a direction. So I guess let's try 3 different ones. We're going to put one with the eye facing up, one with the eye facing down, and one with the eye facing sideways. I don't know if that makes a difference depending on how those go, but for now we're just going to do those. Again, I don't want to do too many of these because if they all succeed, I do not have room for any more climbing plants. So let's get these topped with soil. Both of these want to be quite deep, I think, so I might need to push them down a little bit, but that's okay. And there we have it. The way I've laid these out, I'm actually going to label these because I am curious with the beans which are going to come out better. So I have the eye facing up here, the one facing down here, and the one facing sideways. So when I label these, I am actually going to put up, down, and sideways on them because it'll be really interesting if the one facing up, for example, does better than one facing down, or if it actually doesn't matter and they all grow the same. For right now, these ones are going to sit as they are. The sweet corn, I think, is probably going to live outside for a bit. You can actually see its roots are already starting to come through the bottom. So this one will want to be repotted up, I think, pretty much as soon as the new planter arrives. We are slowly but surely running out of room in our kitchen. We have one more thing to plant into these pots right now, which is the courgettes. So we're going to get those done as quick as we can, and then we're going to get on and do the potatoes. Those I'm interested by because they're going to be very different to anything else we've done. But for right now, let's get these put inside. I am looking forward to having these courgettes because I use these all the time, and these ones look particularly tasty. They are Mr. Fothergill's. Again, links in the description down below if you want any of these. The tip for these ones being to harvest regularly to encourage them to keep cropping through the season. These are one of the most used vegetables in my arsenal, to be honest. I cook a lot with courgettes. So having these next to our peppers and aubergines are going to be so good. So looking forward to doing these ones. We're going to use these pots here because it says to do them into individual pots. We have 3 of these, and honestly I think what I have done last time is plant way too many peppers and aubergines, and I've ended up like cutting them down to about 4, or like between 4 and 6 of each. And knowing where these are now going to be living, we do not need that many. So if by the end of May they've had a month to grow and they haven't worked, we can plant some more at the end of May. That's not a problem. So we'll start with these 3, do the exact same things we did for the squash and the beans, and as I say, we're just going to be doing the 3 of them because we do not need that many. So let me get the soil out. My biggest worry when it came to planting the courgettes, the peppers and the aubergines were where I was going to end up leaving them when they are in their final growth state, you know, because it's all well and good growing the seeds inside, but the plants themselves are going to want to live outdoors. So what I've actually managed to do is find a spot outside the front of the house, which I honestly thought would be covered up way too much to be a usable space. My original plan was to have them grow here in the shed where we're actually doing the potting right now. But I had a look at it again this morning, just reconsidering, like checking the light levels, seeing where I could actually put stuff. And what I noticed is actually really, really dark in this shed. There's not a lot of light in here at all. So although the temperature and humidity in this shed is probably ideal for what we want to do for our peppers, courgettes and everything, it's actually not going to be very good for light levels. So what I've decided to do is we're going to put a pop-up greenhouse, which I've had for a while, outside in the front section where we have that big area. It actually gets a lot more sun than you would think it would. So having a look at these courgette seeds are much bigger than I thought they were. They're actually very similar to the squash seeds. Now let me see, it specifies to do these 1.5 centimeters or half an inch deep on their edge and small pots of compost. So again, instead of sowing them flat, we want to do them on their sides. And again, I might, if I'm feeling sneaky, I might decide to put a fourth one in. Mostly because I'm like, I just want to make sure that they work, you know? Even though I know it's probably going to be fine, because I need to have more confidence in myself. I have managed to do much better than I thought I was going to do with the things that were growing in my garden. So you may never have tried it before, but nature knows what it's doing. As long as you give it the water, the nutrients, the sunlight and everything that it needs, it will be fine. It will know what to do. We are back out in the garden because the sun is out, and I figured it would be a nice time to just kind of pop out and have a look while we do our spuds. So what I was talking about in the last episode, which some of you might remember, and if you weren't here last time, I'm going to talk about it right now. I'm going to be growing some certain things in grow bags, and the ones we have here specifically are really good for potatoes and for onions as well, because this little bit here is actually a Velcro flap. So what we're actually going to be able to do here is when we come to harvest, Velcro ASMR go. We're actually then going to be able to open up this pocket in the front. So it means we'll actually be able to pop our hands in at the bottom and pull the potatoes out, as opposed to pulling up the entire plant from the top. I think it's going to be a really, really handy addition for us to have. We just pop this bit open, grab the spuds out when they're grown. It's going to be a lot easier, I think, than digging the whole thing out. We have 2 of these, and we have a whole bunch of Maris Piper potatoes. These I did read are supposed to be going in March. Obviously, we missed it, but it's only just like halfway through April, so I think we'll be okay. They look fine. There's no mold on any of them, no problems. And you see these little potato tubers, they're all chitted, as far as I understand the word anyway, which means they have grown all these little like sprouty bits here. So that's exactly what you need to be able to grow them in their grow bags. So we're going to take a few of these out and put a handful in, and pretty much my understanding is that what we'll do is we'll roll this down to about 1/3 of its height, maybe 1/4. I have this much showing. Put some earth in the bottom of it, pop the potatoes in here, cover it with a little bit of earth, and then as the potatoes grow up, you'll earth more and more, and we'll roll the bag up in sections, fill it with some more compost, and as the potatoes grow, we fill it with more, and eventually we'll have full-size potato plants, hopefully, and they'll be able to, as I say, pull this open and just grab up potatoes from inside. So I'm going to set this up somewhere, and you guys can watch me as I try and awkwardly roll these bags down to 1/3 of their size, and let's pop in some potatoes. Mistakes have been made. It's fine. Should have put gloves on. I think it's a bit too late for gloves though. I think we want to put about 4 or 5, so we're going to just pop them in. You're a little one, you can go in the middle. No, we only have 2 left. Let's just put one of you in there. And put you as a 5. So you guys can see what I'm looking at. Let's get you in here. So we have 5 in this one, Let me try a little sneaky 6 in this one, see whether or not this works. But pretty much what we want to do now, we see we've rolled them down, and what we're going to be doing over the growing period is just adding extra soil, earthing them up as you will. I need to do a little quick bit of research before I finish these to find out how much soil I add on top of these. But then as they go, we're going to roll them up higher and higher, fill them with more earth, and eventually, hopefully, we'll have some nice tasty potatoes. So let me go and do my research and then figure out what to do with them. So I actually totally forgot, but I have this potato fertilizer, which I bought at the same time as my grow bags at some point, and I completely forgot about it. So what I'm supposed to do with this is dig this into the soil. You can also use it as a top dressing as well. But seeing as I'm not too far through the process, what I'm actually going to do is pull those potatoes up. They're just placed on top at the moment, they're not actually dug in, they're just placed on. So we'll pick them up and just dig a few of these bits in. It says 150 grams per 1 meter squared. Now I have no idea how much I've got in this pot so far, but I'm imagining it's not 1 meter squared. So what I'm thinking is I'm probably just going to do like 10-15 grams or something, because if I was to picture a 1 meter by 1 meter square, that's much bigger than what I have right now. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm just basically just going to throw in like a small handful, mix that in with the soil that I already added, mix it in with the compost, and then put the potatoes back on top. And then what we need to do is earth up on top of that, just a thin layer just to cover it. They want to be just under the surface. And there we go. Our 2 little potato planters with their feed dug in. I'll just below the surface, not too far down, next to our very sad looking radishes. Yeah, I think we're going to get rid of those and start them again. These are going to sit here in this really sunny spot, and as they start growing taller, I think it said about 9-10 centimetres tall. I might have read that wrong, but I'll do some research as it goes. But basically, as they grow up a little bit taller, fill them with more earth, we'll roll these up further and further as we go. So then they are nice and done. We'll leave them there to live their life. We got Vitax Q4. It's time to get on with the big planters today. It is officially, 10 days after you last saw me? And we are finally ready. The soil's here. We can finally get the big planters done. It is hot as sin outside, but we get on with it. We already have our leeks going inside, and we're going to get some carrots and some spring onions and stuff planted outside today. But the reason we're in here starting off with this is because this is going to be our all-purpose fertilizer that we're going to be using for the most part in our garden. Now, I do not have any experience using fertilizers. I've got some liquid tomato feed. You've seen a little bit of our potato fertilizer, and this stuff is, from what I can understand, pretty much is the miracle fertilizer. It's got an NPK rating of 5.3, 7.5 and 10 as the NPK rating on this. It's also got some extra stuff in there like magnesium, manganese, boron, copper and iron, which from what I'm understanding is the trace stuff which comes to do good stuff for plants. I don't really know what it does, but from my understanding this stuff is pretty much gold, so this is what we're going to be going for. I've been doing some math to try and figure out how much of this I need to use. Please do let me know if you're a seasoned gardener that knows how to use fertilizer and or is better at maths. Either way, I'm absolutely down for learning, so if you guys have any information for me that's going to help out with any of this and help any of the other viewers as well, please do let me know. We'll take a look at the back here. It does tell us here for vegetables, which is what we're going to be starting off with this for. It says 140 grams per meter squared, which is also 4 ounces per square yard. It says do that before sowing and planting, and then top dress vegetables at 70 grams per meter squared or 2 ounces per square yard once or twice during the summer months. So from what I'm understanding, you can use this as a top dressing, but you can also dig it in. I'm not entirely sure the calculations on getting square meters and how that works when you're then filling a container, which is a 3D space. So I'm doing my best. I'm sort of figuring out how we're going to go. The first plant we're going to be filling today, we're going to see this in just a moment, is 120 centimeters long, 60 centimeters wide, and 20 centimeters deep. We kind of mathed it that that's about 0.7 of a square meter. I'm guessing here. We're going to be using 70% of this amount. That's 140 grams. I'm going to do the math in a minute, figure out whatever that is. And that's what we're going to be adding into the top layer of our soil. Not entirely sure how far down we need to dig it in, but I know less is better, because if you do too much, you can give it fertilizer burn. I believe it's what it's called. We are going to be doing a layer of topsoil on the bottom, just to kind of bulk it out. We've got our new compost, which has just arrived, which is our Westland with John Innes. And from what I understand, the Vitax Q4 is really good to go with Johnny and stuff, so that's perfect. And we're going to be mixing some compost and put a little bit of this, however much the 70% of this works out at. So this is all very much trial and error. What we're going to be doing is I'm going to take you guys outside, we're going to have a look at the plant that we've got, have a look at the soil and stuff that came delivered the other day, and let's get filling. Again, as I say, with this, if you have any information about this that can help us, I have not yet planted out most of my other stuff. A lot of the stuff that's in the kitchen that will go into grow bags have not been planted out yet, and a lot of this stuff is going to want some fertilizers. So if you guys have any advice at all about how to figure out how much of this stuff to use in the container, how deep it needs to go, do I just top dress with it, whatever you know, I am absolutely down for learning, so please do let me know. For now though, let's head into the garden and go and have a look at what we've got to work with. I've got my planter out over here, which is going to be going underneath the plum tree, so we've got our space for it already sorted. And this is our big pile of stuff. Look at this. So much soil. And this is our big planters. 120 centimetres from end to end, 60 centimetres that way, and then 20 centimetres up. So this is what we're going to be filling for our leeks and our other bits for our salad bowl. We've got our compost over here ready to go, so we're going to grab some piles of that and start putting them in. And as I say, we're going to be spreading some of this Vitax Q4 sort of within the soil, not necessarily just on the surface. I might dig it in a little bit, but I won't go too deep with it. It's going to be a big manual labour day, so let me get everything set up and we're going to start filling. Alrighty, so what we were just looking at the very end of this was sowing some of our seeds. I need to go and write up some signs so I can figure out which is which so I don't forget. Essentially, what we've done, we do have some work going on, so I apologise for the noise, but we have a row here of lettuce. This hole here indicates our row of carrots. We have this row here, which is going to be, I'm leaving this here as an indicator, so this is where our leeks are going to end up. And I was just popping some holes in around the edge here. So this half was spring onions, and this half over here are radishes. This is basically going to be a rolling rotation. So this section here is our current rotation. In about 3 or 4 weeks time, we'll plant more. So we'll do another row of lettuce, carrots, leeks, and if I have enough space, I've taken up about a third, maybe a little bit more than a third to be honest. But this is going to be our row of leeks, so we're hopefully going to be able to get another row of each, and then maybe a little bit extra at the end. And we're going to be using the outside edges for our spring onions and our radishes. So I'm going to give this one last final good watering here just to make sure it's all completely in. We have our Vitax Q4 raked in on the top level, and once our leeks are big enough, they're going to be going in that hole over here. So let me go and get some signs, and I think that's us pretty much done for today. I do have one more of these that I need to fill. It's going to be going right there in between the tree and that planter, and it's about the same length. This one's 1.20 m, as I say. The other one is at least 1 metre, but it might be a little bit more. But it is taller and it's got rounded edges, so hopefully it's a little bit more firm. It'll hold its shape better, and that's going to go over there. So I'm basically going to be doing the same process as you've seen me do here over on that one, but we're not going to bother doing that on camera because it's exactly the same thing as you've just seen, and it is absolutely stinking hot outside. Look at that sky, it is absolutely beautiful, but I am sweating. So I think we're going to call that good on the workout here for today. I'm going to get this other one done on my own time, and that's pretty much going to be the episode. Before we close out, I wanted to do a little update on our bean experiment, because it has been 10 or 11 days since we planted these, and they have shot up. The sideways eye bean, let me get my hand for comparison. Look how big this boy is. This is 11 days of growth at absolute most. And if you move along and have a look at the one with the eye down, it's basically identical. They are so cute. I don't know why, they look like little snake heads with their tongues poking out, and it's so cute. So the eye down and the eye sideways had very similar growth. The eye up, however, is only just starting to poke out of the soil, which is interesting. I was not sure whether or not the roots would come out of the eye or if the plant itself would come out of the eye, but from the looks of things, if we take a look at this one over here, it actually looks like the eye doesn't matter. It's coming out of the ends of the bean as opposed to the eye section. But we did plant one extra for the sake of it, and this one I planted eye up, and it's exactly the same as the others. Let me put it next to it for comparison. They are all doing so well. So we have at least 3 very healthy bean plants. We also have one teeny tiny little squash which I accidentally threw on the floor the other day. It's in there somewhere, you can't really see it, but we do in here somewhere. See if we can find it. There's one little butternut squash right in there. Look how well they're all doing. Oh, so many plants. I'm so proud. That's going to do us for today. Thank you all for being here while we've been doing stuff in the garden. We have got so much new stuff planted. Lots of new flowers and lots of new veggies going in. Thank you so much for being here and hanging out with me on this journey. If you have any advice from what you've seen me do today, or you have any questions about what we're doing, anything you want to see us do in the future, please do let me know. I'm so up for new ideas and advice and questions. We're figuring it out together and having some fun in the garden today, and throughout the rest of the series I'm hoping we're going to get to do more fun things like this. So I will keep you updated. If you want to know any more, you can follow me over on Blue Sky. That's where you'll see most of the updates. There'll be lots of pictures and stuff happening over there, so if you want any updates more regularly in the videos, please go follow me there. And if you like this content, I really would appreciate it if you could drop a subscribe. You do not have to, but if you enjoy it, it's the best way for you to find out when the new content's coming. So hit the subscribe button somewhere down there, and I will see you guys in the next one. Remember friends, it's always tea time somewhere in the world. Bye bye.